What's up guys, Chris here, back in another video. So today I want to talk a little bit more about this right here. This is the Sony ZV-E10. And now yesterday's video I talked about how it is such a great camera for travel photography. Today I want to kind of take that step further and talk about how it is still a great, vlogging camera, content creator camera, YouTube camera, if you will. I think it's one of the best in the business. And I'm going to go over a bunch of lenses today that are options for you in order, if you want to. Damn flies. Hey, what do you got to do? Anyways, I want to talk about some lens options for you if you're looking into getting into this type of camera for vlogging or content creating, such as, in a studio and stuff like that. And I've got a lot of videos coming up on this channel talking about, studio setups for this. We'll compare it to a couple other cameras as well for studio. So stay tuned to the channel, hit that subscribe button, and let's get into this video. All right, so the first lens that I've got here is obviously the Sony 10-18. Now this lens right currently is on sale for about $800, and that's the same price as the camera. So it's that could be a deterrence, but the great thing about this lens is it's image stabilized, and it is the widest of any of the lenses that you can get at 10 millimeters. So if you put this on the camera, it really is the best match for the camera. However, if price is important to you, maybe it's not necessarily the greatest option because it's 800. I think normally around $850. I think it's on sale right now for 800. So I think it's usually $849 or something like that. But it is a great lens, the best in the business, in my opinion. And if you want the best lens possible for this camera, it is this one. The next one is another Sony lens. Now this is the 16mm f2.8. Now this is a very cheap option. So you can see this $223 on here, but you can get these used for like $140, $150 easily. You can go on to Adorama into their used section, and they always have them. Amazon's always got used ones. You can buy these fairly cheap. And then the important part of this is putting the ultra wide adapter. Now this adapter is $158. And so the 16mm f2.8 from Sony, it's a pancake lens. It's not the sharpest lens in the world, but somehow, some way, when you put this adapter on here, now I've used this lens several times in older channels. I don't have any footage from it anymore, but I used to use it on my A5100, and I used it on the A6500, I think. And I'll tell you what, it's a lot sharper with this with this lens attachment. So, for around $350, $400, you can have a really nice 12 millimeter lens for APS-C, so it's about 18 millimeters full frame equivalent. Great little lens, lightweight, probably the lightest weight of all the options, and I think personally this is the best option, the 16 millimeter f2.8 with the ultra wide adapter. In my opinion, that's the best bang for your buck option. 12 millimeters f2.8, price and everything to match. It's a great deal. The next, we're going to go over to Samyang, and Samyang's got a couple of different lenses that I'm interested in here. We'll start with the 14mm f2.8. Now, this lens is a full-frame lens, but it'll work on your APS-C cameras. It's lightweight. I've used it on the A7C before in the past, and I've done a whole vlog on this. And I'll put a link in the description box below if you want to see that vlog over on my CJ Abroad channel. But this lens is, $500. You get a 14mm f2.8 lens. Now it's going to be a 21mm equivalent when you put it on this camera because of the crop factor. And you know what? It's got a bulbous front lens on there, so you can't. This is not the best option in the world because you can't put any ND filters on there because of the bulbous lens. But I mean, 14 millimeters, 21 millimeters. I think the perfect focal length for vlogging is 20 millimeters. As close as you can get to 20 millimeters is the best bet, I think. It's not going to be too wide. It's not going to be too narrow. I think that's, to be honest with you, the holy grail, in my opinion, of vlogging cameras would be the A7S Mark III with the 20 millimeter 2.8 lens, because that 20 mil is just like that, or 20 mil 1.8, sorry, from Sony, the G lens. So 21 millimeter f2.8, you can't really go wrong with this. It's gonna be a really nice setup. $500 for that lens. And then the newest of these lenses is the Samyang 12mm f2. Now this is this has recently come out. It's already on sale for $400 right now. This is the making of this video. Now that could be changed, at any time. It's normally around $450. But this is a easy way to get a very fast 12mm lens that's super wide. This is going to help you if you want to get into the stabilization. Now, I would recommend more of the catalyst browse than the the active stabilization that's in this camera. That my personal thought process on that would be. So I would definitely recommend to do that to get that catalyst browse if you really want the most stablest, or buy a gimbal, whichever is easiest. Honestly, probably a gimbal is probably your best bet, because nowadays, there's so many small gimbals like the Crane M2. Great option for this camera for a gimbal. And cheap, lightweight, all that good stuff. Can't really go wrong with it. All right, and now the trusty Sigma 16mm 1.4. Now 24 is probably, so 16mm equivalent is the 24mm equivalent in full frame, or 24mm in full frame terms. And I think that's about as narrow as you want to go. So when it comes to this lens, I look at this lens as, this is a content creator thing, right? I look at this as more of a studio lens. And if I do get this lens in the future, obviously I will do some studio testing with it as well, against some other cameras as well. Hopefully, this lens is coming out for Fuji soon, maybe, potentially, who knows. It'd be badass. But the 16mm 1.4 is going to be great. I think it's a lens that everybody needs, in my opinion. Now, I would like to compare this with the 12mm f2 before I really commit to that theory, just because the 12mm f2 is wider. But for low light situations, I don't think you can go wrong with a 16mm. Now, this is a 16mm on here, and it's plenty wide enough. As long as you're not throwing stabilization too high, into the active modes and stuff like that, it's going to be plenty wide enough. But you're going to have a nice blur background, and you're going to be able to go into some low light situations. So to be honest with you, this is the best low light lens that you can buy for this system, in my opinion. And I don't think you can go wrong with this lens. I think this is something everybody should add to their bag no matter what. If you're buying this camera for content creation, you should have the Sigma 16 1.4. When you look at the price, $363, and I think that's actually quite high. I think normally you can get it for $350. Man, you just can't go wrong with it. It is the best in the business. This is definitely a lens I will add at some point. I'm not in that big of a hurry, but we'll get there. And then the last one is another new one. I believe this is not I think the Samyang lens is actually a little bit newer than this one, but this is the 11-20 f2.8. Now this is going to be your best all around, but it's going to be a little bit heavier than like the 10-18, and it doesn't have stabilization in it. So obviously you're going to want to use a catalyst browse on this one as well, but you're going to be able to get to 11 millimeters on this, and then up to 20. So that's a good focal length. It's a little bit bigger lens than the 10-18, so you're going to kind of know that it's there. It's not as big as the 16mm 1.4, but it is still it's a bigger lens. Tamron makes some of the best lenses in the game, best bang for your buck lenses in the game. Now this is $830, and at the time of making this video, it's the most expensive on the list. However, I just don't think you can go wrong with the Tamron lens today. I've had the 17-28 a few times. I had the 28-200 millimeter when I had the A7C, which I will be having the A7C again in a few days, by the way. Yeah. And sharp lenses on the 28-200. 17-28 is also a very nice lens. But you can't go wrong with Tamron lenses. They are, if Sony were to make a 10-20 right now that was f2.8, it would be over $1,000, no doubt about it. It would be probably more than $1,200 or $1,300. So the fact that they're selling it for $829, that's a pretty good deal. So, yeah. And then normal price for the 10-20 is higher than this. So you're going to pay around $850 to $900 normally for the 10-18. So if you get it on sale, yeah, that's great for $800. Is it still the best bang for your buck lens? No, I don't think so. But hey, Tamron 11-20 is a really good option as well. So anyways, that's about it for today's video. I got a bunch of videos coming up for the the ZV-E10. I'll be comparing to a bunch of different cameras for a bunch of different uses and stuff like that. So stay tuned to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.